Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts. I'm your host, Rudo, joined by AJ Hafley. And, ladies and gentlemen, he is back for good. Jesse Montano, back in the fold. Jesse, good to have you back.
Dude, I'm so excited. This has been like officially official for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
And it's been in good conversations now for almost 2 full months. So this has been a really tough thing to sit on.
Yeah.
Especially a few nights ago when
come back on the show.
Yeah, everything was like done, everything was signed and all good, and I was on the show and couldn't say anything. So
we have a special guest.
It was
just
fun
for
because
tonight.
like, we built it all up as like,
yeah.
oh hey, like Evan's out of town and we just needed Jesse to slot on in and fill in for the game, and this is just gonna work out just great.
Yeah,
just the way that we planned. And then,
Sasha is asking.
No, nobody got replaced.
Yep.
Blaze will still be here for
Okay,
post
he's not,
games.
but can we?
Jeez.
no.
Yeah. Well, now I feel weird. No, but like that's actually a great question, because that's kind of the point to all of this is there's already so much good that's been going on here, and I'm just so excited to be back in the fold full time and being able to always be adding to this and what we're doing. And the 4 or 5 of us have already gotten together a couple times, and just some of the small little ideas that we've like already put down to paper, like, cool, this is one that we're doing. I'm so excited, and I hope everyone who's listening, who's watching is equally as excited, because we've got a lot of the tools, a lot of the resources to do the stuff that we've talked about doing for literally 7 years. Like, oh, it'd be so cool to do something like that one day, and we're gonna do it this year. Like, all that stuff is we're gonna have the opportunity to do, and I'm.
It's been some of the stuff that we've talked about doing. We've talked about since we were at the media school.
Yeah.
Like we used to drive all the way out there to record in that studio, and like that was I don't know. It was just a wild time. That was It was a long time ago, man. And to think about how many episodes of the pod we've done, and to see how it all works now, and to see it all kind of come back together, and sort of the way that it happened, was pretty funny, just because we were both in Phoenix for the rookie showcase, and it just goes to show you that like the universe.
Is that Jordan Binnington driving by? Tough guy.
The universe just sort of has its own sense of humor about things,
Seriously.
because you and I hadn't talked all summer. I'd been kind of looking for somebody to come on board, and we were looking to add a person or two to the beat, because we just wanted a little bit more coverage. We were all sort of stretched thin in the roles that we were currently doing, and it was kind of tough. And then we were both in Phoenix, and like you needed a ride to the airport. You were just gonna like Uber, and I was like, I'll just take you to the airport. And then we spent the third period of that wild ass Avs Sharks game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was
like,
Sharks. Yeah.
Just like sitting there talking about like DNVR and like what you were up to, and you were like, oh well, I'm thinking about getting back into it. And I give you to the ride to the airport, and it was just like.
It was everything just made sense. So, giving a little insight into what led up to that conversation and that whole thing. Because to your point, like outside of a small couple, like send you a tweet here or there, like, oh, did you see this? Ha ha ha. Oh, this maybe whatever. But, really, we hadn't talked much all summer, and I had actually been having a conversation with a buddy of mine who I was doing just kind of a small little show with, where I was like, I really want to get back into this, just with where I'm at in my career, the things that I've gone and learned and done. Like, I'm ready to start making that move back. And honestly, going to the rookie showcase was one of those things for me. Like, all right, well, this will be a good way to like, I'll be there, be around, stuff that's not just normal games that you watch on TV.
It was funny because, and I feel comfortable like talking about this, because I don't think it's like state secrets or anything, but Dater had asked you to help his site out because he couldn't be in Phoenix,
right?
And you were going to be there, and so like you were just like, hey man, I'm in Phoenix, like let's get a beer or whatever.
Yeah.
Like let's just make sure that we connect while we're both down
While
here.
we're down here, yeah.
And it was like, oh, I'll try and get you like credential,
Yeah.
I'll call PR
Helps him, yeah.
and see if I can get you a credential with the for the showcase just to help you out, because you were trying to help out Dater.
Yeah.
And it was just funny how all the pieces
Everything and that's
like
honestly
fell together.
how all of this has been. Seriously, so that was back in September, right? Was and every step along the way, it's exactly what you just said, where it's been like, okay, well, yeah, that sounds cool, but let's see if we can get here, and stuff just like falls in line perfectly to get there. And I mean literally down to your Airbnb being near the airport so that you can give me a ride.
It was literally on the way. We actually drove by the Airbnb that we were staying at in Phoenix to get to the airport, and it was only 5 minutes for me back.
Because I was staying with a buddy. I was out there staying with a buddy. He'd been driving me
Weirdly
around.
convenient at every turn.
But it was a Monday, and he had to go to work, so he couldn't drive into the airport. So AJ had to take me to the airport. And
you had like your bag with you at the game, and I was like, why do you have all your stuff? And you're like, oh, well, I'm flying out of here.
Yeah. And then, so AJ and I have this conversation, and I get back, and actually Hannah, my girlfriend, had the vid. She came down with COVID while I was gone, while I was out of town. And so I couldn't go home. I had to go stay in.
Hannah.
Yeah. I had to go stay in hotels for a couple nights till my negative test came back before I could go stay at my parents' house. And I'm sitting in this hotel one night, and I'd been talking to Hannah on the phone, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. Where I'm at with my job, I think I'm just ready to move on. Are people saying stuff about Hannah?
Not
Hannah.
Just starting. There are a couple people in chat that want a summation of you, because we do have a few new fans.
Yeah,
since you were part of BSN.
I was sitting there telling Hannah, I was like, I think I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to start doing stuff that I care about, that I'm passionate about, that I'm not being told when I go to work, hey, you should care about this, and this is why you should care about it. And we get off the phone, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm not even joking, dude. It wasn't 90 seconds after I hung up that phone call, Andre texts me. Hey, man, I talked to AJ. Heard you guys connected in Arizona. I can't stop thinking about this. When can we meet up? And it just, like you said, the universe is just funny, man.
Yeah.
It's got it's
funny,
got its own plans.
There are some days where it's absolutely out to get you.
Yeah.
And you start that day off, you stub your little toe on the door.
Yep.
You get shampoo in your eye in the shower. Your car doesn't start the first time, and it's got a warning light on it. And there are days, man, where things are just out to get you.
Yeah.
But this whole situation, the way it all kind of came together, and the reason why it's a big deal is, we just don't. We don't hire a lot of people. We don't. Our company turnover is really, really, really low, which is why we're dedicating an entire segment on the pod on a Monday in a week where the Avs don't even play again until Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's sort of even in that way, this was fortuitous, because it was just if the Avs were playing tonight, it would just be full steam ahead. We've got other things going on.
All right, Jesse's back. Cool. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah.
And instead, it was Jesse comes back. And not to get lost in this, she's not here, but we also did hire Megan to help us with Eagles and Avs this year.
Yep.
You guys remember her from a pod a couple weeks ago. She hopped on a pod with
probably
us.
About now, yeah.
She will be on future pods with us.
Now everyone's just going to think anytime we have a guest that's just the
Are you
next
guys
hire
hiring this person?
coming 2 weeks later. Yeah. Anytime there's someone, a new face on the show. So keep an eye out for the Adam Foote announcement.
Yeah.
Not really, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're gonna bring
That'd
on
be a big hire.
We're gonna put Lauren on retainer as our tarot card expert.
Oh yeah, there we go.
But no, so it really is. It's just really exciting. Everything's fallen into place in a way that, honestly, if you asked me to draw it up, wouldn't have been able to do it.
What is the opposite of a plumber?
Oh God.
P.S. With Halloween going on, I tried to envision a Sergio costume.
Well, so wait, so the opposite of plumber be someone who comes in messes up your pipes?
Yeah, so like an actual profession, okay? Not because
Not
we've
a
been
clogger.
Like, yeah, we've been like, what's the opposite of a plumber? People are like clogger, and it's like, all right, we don't get paid for that, all right? That's just called Thanksgiving. Like, it's you know. So like, what is the opposite of a plumber? Because it is an ongoing thing that we have.
In terms of like an actual profession, is there a right answer to this?
No.
This is our
Definitely not.
frustration, is that we have yet to come up with one.
But what would you need? What would you need the opposite of a plumber for?
So
Here we go.
I can't believe we have to explain
Buckle
this.
up.
Way to tell everybody that you don't listen to the show.
Well, no,
So
but like,
it's the opposite. So we came up with a third Mario brother,
Oh my
who's the black sheep of the family. We named him Serigio, and obviously, as the black sheep, he's the opposite of a plumber, since the Mario brothers are plumbers. Also, we learned that Mario's last name is Mario. His name is Mario.
Oh, I figured he was like a one. I figured he was like Beyonce. Or,
So
even she's got a last name.
it's actually Mario. So it's his name is Serigio Mario, and we've been trying to come up with what he does for a living. At this point,
What does
what
Wario do for a living?
we've got Wario is just evil and not fun. He's not the black sheep. He's just the opposite. He's the clogger.
Yeah. I have no idea what the opposite of a plumber would be.
Yeah.
Like I can't even.
So what we have so far is a guy that operates a dam, and we have decided to call him a damologist.
I was gonna say like I guess electrician would be the only thing that I could think of that would like fall into like some type of occupation that's not dealing with plumbing.
Definitely would not deal with the plumbing. I don't know if it's the opposite of plumbing.
Well, so
Inspector, the opposite of a plumber, because he's inspecting the pipes that never get fit right.
I don't think so. They work together.
I mean,
right?
what I would maybe think is like someone who like goes in and like at night and steals plumbing out of like a new construction site, like plumbing and copper piping.
Oh, criminal.
Yeah, well, but like very niche. Like they know what they're looking for. Like
plumber thief.
like black market
So I
reselling
guess
it to
that's
local
probably
plumbers.
what Wario does. He's
Yeah.
the master of crimes. Serigio has a day job, okay?
Yeah.
He has a day job and he's forgotten about while his brothers constantly save the Mushroom Kingdom.
Is he maybe like a supplier, like a pipe supplier?
Maybe.
All right. What if he is
This is already so far
demo
off.
man and like demolishes houses
Yeah,
because
yeah,
their
yeah.
plumbing is
That
so
definitely
bad?
seems like the opposite.
Could you imagine like your plumbing just being like so wrecked that you're just like, let's just blow the
Got to
house
burn the
up.
house down.
Start over. Let's just take it back to dirt.
Like
Yeah.
straight, let's just blow
And
it
this is
up.
why you don't go to Taco Bell.
Well, so just so we can wrap on me to Rudo's point, just so people know a little bit who I am.
Yeah, welcome back
Yeah,
to the show.
yeah.
Get prepared to have answers to these questions in the future.
I didn't come prepared for that one. I had notes and what is the opposite of a plumber did not make the list. No, so I was actually with, again, for those of you that watched the little thing we put out this morning, I was with then BSN Denver. I met AJ, I think it was either late 2016 or early 2017 when I was going to the media school down in Lakewood. And that was actually the studio that we used, at least for the Avalanche beat. I always have to give the little story. I used to listen to AJ and JJ on the BSN Avalanche podcast at my desk at work once a
old
week,
days.
every year or every week when it came out. And I said, I want to do this. I think I can do this. I sit in front of the TV and I say stuff 5 seconds before Peter McNabb or Mike Roycroft or any of the guys that you listen to. I'm like, I feel like I can do this. And so I went to the media school and I said, I'm going to go find these guys on the day they do their show. And I actually just wandered down to the studio, met, what was his name, the producer at the time?
Dan.
Yeah.
Dan the Viking.
No. It was,
you mean Rob?
Rob the Robert.
Rob
the Robert, yeah. And I met him and I was like, hey, do you mind if I just sit in and you know, on the show while you produce?
No, shout out Rob the Robert.
Shout out Rob
listens to the show.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. He sent me a LinkedIn message last year. just like, hey, congrats on your work anniversary. I was like, oh my God, thanks. Like, great to hear from you. And he let me sit in for a couple shows. He sent me a message one week. He's like, hey, I'm not going to be there. Do you think you can run the board for him? And then he graduated just a couple weeks after that. And I just kind of took over in as far as like producing goes. And I ran the show. And then there was a couple weeks where JJ wasn't there. So you and I kind of just started doing the show.
Yeah. And then Adrian
jumped on, and it went through a few different iterations. And then suddenly we landed at a point where I was kind of hosting the show with either AJ or Adrian Dater, and it kind of became this thing where I was the constant every week, and it literally just turned with me following these guys, like literally stalking them on Twitter enough to the point where I found out they were going to be at the studio, and it all just kind of came together. And then when the 2018 season wrapped, the company was going through a lot of changes, a lot of shifts.
A lot of changes that summer.
Like literally, that was, I think, one of the more significant, maybe you can disagree with this now, that was one of the more significant, like, we are stepping beyond just being like little BSN Denver, doing stuff.
That was an identity shift for the whole company that summer, where we said we don't want to do it like this again, and we don't want to mess with this. We're not interested in this, and we did something totally different.
And just with where I was at in my life, in my career, with things that were going on, personally, I needed to step away, and I needed to go to something that, something that was familiar and comfortable, knew what I was going to every day. And it was fine. It was great for the last few years. Like, it was great for me.
It's great for us because Rudo.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say like it opened the door for.
Welcome to being old news, bud.
I'm so ready to be old news.
It did. It opened the door for a lot of what are extremely positive changes that led to me being back. Like, it's those changes that have led to all of this kind of coming back together full circle. And it's just it all came together so perfectly, man. And we kind of gave a rundown in the last few months already. But really, like, it was things that I need to do, and like there's areas that I've grown and learned that are going to help me contribute here better and help our beat be better. And so it really has been like this perfect combination of stepping away, everyone kind of getting to the point where they need to be, and now we're all able to come back together. And I think it's going to be
great because you're going to be able, like, our vision for this is that Rudo won't have to host every single pod all the time. He'll actually get a day or two off.
Straight years of hosting the show nonstop, man.
There will be days where it'll be just Jesse and me. There will be days where it'll be these two guys.
Yeah.
There will be days where, Evan will be here, obviously. There'll be days where Megan is here, and it's and Blaze will obviously still be here for post game stuff. Like, it's just gonna be everybody kind of working together, and we're just gonna have a lot of different voices and a lot of different people, because we felt like it had gotten to be a little too much of just Rudo and just me.
Yeah. Yep.
And so we wanted to really open up, open it all up to a little bit more conversations. Well, and I would like to say I won that fucking Carter Hutton fight. I ended up being dead right about that shit.
Wait, which one?
The one where where Dater and I got into a huge blowout.
Dude,
over
okay,
Carter
that was
Hutton.
what I thought you were talking about. How Dater was saying he was like one of the next great number ones in the league.
Yeah, he's 32, and you never know. You never know with the goalie, because it happened once with Tim Thomas.
I was gonna say it was Tim Thomas was who he would represent.
I was right about that shit.
There were some, and hey, you should be happy. I now have no out, no reason, no excuse to not pay up on our bet.
Still waiting on that steak dinner. Still waiting on the steak dinner.
We should do a show from a restaurant somewhere over this steak dinner, and just with every bite you can tell us how satisfying it is.
Y'all don't even have to go to a restaurant. You can just hit up HassleCattleCompany.com, get 10% off with code DNVR10.
My man right here.
Cool. Yeah. But no, so it's going to be fun, because another thing we've talked about is we have such great people on this beat that are all so good at so many things, and we're going to be able to lean into those strengths and bring content that, again, we've always talked about, but either haven't had the budget, haven't had the resources, haven't had the time.
Yeah.
And now just with the amount of people that we're going to have bringing this level of content, there's going to be all kinds of stuff that you guys are going to love, that we're finally going to be able to do, have the ability to do. And I'm just so excited to be part of it. Again, this was...
It's the off season. I don't know what we're gonna do. You're gonna be useless this off
I know.
season.
Well,
You're not gonna have anything to do. We're not gonna have anything to do. They don't have any draft picks. They're gonna win the Stanley Cup. We're gonna have 3 weeks of off season, and then we're gonna just be done for the summer.
Yeah.
I thought Serigio was crazy. Wait till this offseason.
Yeah, no kidding.
but no,
Yeah,
man.
this was the shortest offseason in a long time, and we came up with Serigio. Next offseason, we're creating the entire Mario family tree.
Dude, seriously. No, it's going to be a ton of fun, though. This season, it's going to be great. We were hoping to maybe have all this put together by the time the season started, but we're not even a full month after the season started, so we're going to get a full year of doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And
They're 4-4. We're 8 games in.
yeah, no, it's great.
It's fine.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's
My
great.
goal was January 1st.
Oh,
so
perfect. We're ahead of schedule then. Look at
beat that.
We're already
Comfortable with that.
Yeah, under promise, over deliver. We're already there. But yeah, that's me. I'm excited to be back, guys. I'm super stoked to be. Like, it's just I keep having to think about this because the last time I did it, I did this and another job. Like I did this at the same time.
Yeah. I saw you checked your phone and I was like, bitch doesn't have anywhere to be anymore.
No, I just like I don't know. I keep it's gonna be a few days before this like officially sets in of like, no, this is just what I do now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most exciting part for me is I get to do this like jumping in with both feet. I get to dedicate all of my time and energy to this. I don't have anywhere to be. I don't have anywhere like, oh, I gotta get home and get to bed because I gotta, whatever. Like, no, like this is it.
Go home and get to bed is not a phrase that's going to be
Right.
Hold on.
During in season, that's not a phrase that exists for you anymore.
I do have another weird question for you, Jesse.
Okay.
If you were going to name a yacht,
Oh gosh.
a DNVR stylized yacht, what would you name it?
These are the hard-hitting questions.
Well, I was gonna say, and like off the top of my head too, like they're just throwing these at me, like, hey, right now off the top of your head.
You gotta perform.
Yeah. I was wondering what these questions were in the interview. A DNVR themed yacht.
Yep. Cost roughly $22 million.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've heard about this. Can I have a segment to think about this?
I'll give you
sure.
a segment.
Okay, yeah. Give
I'll
me.
give you a
I need
segment.
a segment to think about
All
what
right.
my boat name would be.
Well, in the meantime, think about sipping a Breckenridge brewery on the DNVR yacht.
Do we have any beer up here?
There's some
there-
seltzers over there. I don't know if there's any beers. We have some seltzers.
There's Broncos country beer.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm definitely out on that.
Can I have a Broncos? country
yeah, I'll
beer?
take one too. Nice. Anyway, get yourself some Breck Brew
The
either
HMS
on
number.
tap down at the DNVR bar or at your local liquor store. They got you covered all across the lower 48. I think someone found it in Hawaii the other day,
Oh, wow.
which is impressive considering it's not in Canada.
Yeah, that's
but-
awesome.
Yeah, it's all over the states, so you can get it here for sure. Be sure to check them out. Obviously, we love them over here, as Jesse and I are about to drink a couple. And then once you've had a few, once you're feeling loose, feeling the vibe, check out DraftKings Sportsbook. Go up, sign with code DNVR, sign up even with code
Go
DNVR.
up.
You get amazing odds boosts every single day, and for your new account, you get bet $5 on any football team to win their next game. If they do, you get $200 in free bets. So that's just $200 in money to play with. Super awesome. You can have a great time. You can do insane things. Yahir was asking me my strategies for betting on the darts world champion earlier today. So,
There is one.
Yep,
It's not blind. There is a strategy for betting on darts.
there is.
You just see who's got it.
It really blows my mind how coming from like hockey too, where every player is a robot at all times. They never celebrate anything
Yeah.
besides like a little fist pump. And these dudes, they don't hit a triple 20 and they're like, oh, that was awful. And they spend the whole rest of the game just fuming. And it's like, all right, I'm betting against that dude the rest of the night. It works. I've made a good amount of money.
Wait for
following
bad
that
body
strategy.
language in darts.
Yep.
Make money.
So, yeah, check out DraftKings Sportsbook. You must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Please use the code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to let them know we sent you. Other terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. DraftKings is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And, of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. We got a couple of super chats here. Since we're asking the weird questions today, AJ, Eddie wants to know about your pumpkin spice latte.
Before you get into it, Allie told me that you were stopping for one, and I told Allie, I said, that seems like the type of thing AJ ends up loving. Just like a super, like, mainstream, very, like...
I don't know how I feel about this. This feels
because you don't have a lot of them, but I just told Allie, I said,
way backhanded.
this is right in his wheelhouse where he will become a pumpkin spice
How
latte
basic are
person.
you, AJ?
It was good. It was like I was sitting next to Eric when I tried it, and I was like, "This is what people go crazy over every year," because it was like, it's good, it's solid, it's fine. I don't understand the fascination with it. I don't know why it's seasonal. Like it doesn't
That's
seem...
the fascination.
It doesn't seem to
make it
be...
limited.
I mean, it feels like Starbucks' answer to the McRib, where it's just like, it exists, and it's only available at certain times, so people kind of hammer it, but it's fine. Like, I liked it enough. I'm not a warm beverage guy, so...
You have to have the pumpkin spice cold brew, like cream thing.
So that's what I was about to say.
Really good.
All the people who I at my old job, that was what they all drank. Like they had like IV bags they would just like carry around with it, just going straight in the cold brew cream one.
Okay.
Pumpkin spice cold brew.
I don't remember who made it, but someone made a pumpkin spice beer that was delicious.
Yo, there's a brewery in Phoenix.
Is that Four Peaks?
Yeah, Four Peaks.
Yeah.
The pumpkin beer that they have is really good.
So, all I'm saying, Breck Brew, get on it.
What's up? Where
Make
that
a pumpkin
at?
spice beer. I guess it's too late this year. We're already into
Yeah.
November.
That's true.
I bet you they have something like it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
They-
I feel like everyone's got a pumpkin song. I just don't like pumpkin.
Well, I
See, and before I had it this morning, Z asked me, she's like, "Do you like pumpkin things?" And I was like, "Some of them."
I don't
Gotta
think
find
they
out.
do. I don't think they have a pumpkin one because at my local they already have the Christmas mini kegs available. So
Yeah, those things are popular.
they jumped right into the Christmas stuff. Also, a $10 super chat from Sasha to the Yacht Fund. Thank you very much.
Always
Sasha.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're getting
Ooh,
there.
I already forgot to be thinking of a yacht name. I was going to be caught equally off guard at the end of this segment.
Give you a whole segment
Yeah.
and nothing.
We're gonna ask you, and you're gonna be like, "I need another segment."
Pumpkin spice yachte. It's for you.
The world's most basic yacht.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a $22 million yacht. That's like the
Isn't it, though?
$700K yacht that gets parked there and left year round.
That gets leased.
The super yacht.
Yes.
Park
Well,
next
our
to it.
$22 million yacht sits in a parking lot in downtown Denver.
Just so you know, there's a
Yep,
pumpkin spice
I see it.
latte
I see it.
nitro for pregnant.
So there you go. Breck Brew's got everything, man. It's actually crazy how many beers they have.
Okay.
All right.
How was the Christmas one?
Oh, the Christmas one's delicious.
It depends. There's
I love
two.
it.
How are the
Well,
Christmas
there was
ones?
last year, right? There were two Christmas ones, and one of them was bomb, and the other one was
Not for you.
room for improvement.
Okay.
Isn't it just a Christmas ale?
I don't remember.
That's the only
I
one
don't
that I've
remember.
had. Yeah.
See, I'm planning on leaning into the holiday season this year because I've just like skipped
I am
it
too.
the last couple
I'm
years.
actually doing something for Christmas this year,
Yeah.
so it's actually like it's gonna be great.
So I'm gonna be drinking Breck Brew Christmas ales all
Nice.
year, winter season.
Delicious.
As long as it keeps you from whining about the cold every day, I'm good.
I
We genuinely hired
First-
you at the worst time. We
first
needed to
thing
hire
I
you in
said-
spring.
Allie asked me this morning. She goes, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm cold."
Yeah, oh God.
That is the first.
Such a whiner about the weather.
These are fleece lined. These are lined joggers right
Keeping
here.
him warm. All right.
Well, and then he sits down and he goes, "It's hot up here."
It is well, so, cause I'm wearing a vest, a hoodie, and lined joggers, and it's warm up here. It's
is-
great.
I mean, it is warm up
I
here.
didn't.
but-
I didn't shed a layer. It feels great.
Okay. Let's reel it in. Reel it in a little bit. Get to the actual topic.
You can
that
tell
we're
it's a
gonna talk
Monday
about
and
today.
not a lot
Yeah.
going on right now. There's no
Definitely.
abs practice today. There are no injury updates. There are no lineup updates. We've got nothing Avalanche related going on.
Well,
I called AJ last night. I was like, all right, first day tomorrow. So I figured, well, I'll see you at practice.
nope.
no practice. I was like, okay.
There
Yeah.
are some tangentially related things to the Avs, I think.
Definitely.
Great word.
Because we've had a lot of conversations in the DNVR Lounge and in other Avalanche circles about prospect development and what the best paths are for young kids getting to the NHL. We saw today Cole Caufield sent down to the AHL by the Montreal Canadiens. After
Cole Caufield, a popular Calder pick this
Yep.
year, by the way.
1 point in 10 games, though.
And let me ask you guys. I asked the lounge this morning. Can you name the top 3 rookie scorers right now?
I believe it's Raymond. I think Byram and Sider are 3 and 4. I forget who 2 is.
Moritz Seider is actually 2.
Okay, he's
and
moved
there
up.
is a 7-way tie for 3rd.
Hell yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
All of those dudes have 5 points, including Byram.
Byram, yeah.
Byram and 6 other guys all have 5 points. And it's Raymond and Sider. And Sider is a bunch of secondaries, I believe, assists.
No goals. Still,
And
I think,
no
yeah.
goals. And Lucas Raymond on the other side of that is shooting like 22%.
Has a hat trick already.
Yeah.
this year.
So it's like it's really interesting to me to see this rookie class, which you remember at the draft in 19, it was that American class. It was the USNTDP. Like the much ballyhooed, like 14 guys got drafted from that program. It was going to be like the next great American wave all at once.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Caufield sent down. You're kind of still waiting for
Zegras
Boldy
is-
to show up. Yeah.
Zegras is one of the guys with 5 points. Jack Hughes is hurt again. Boldy hasn't really shown up yet. The defenders from that team have not done anything yet. You know, Cam York still figuring it out. Guys like Drew Hellison are all still marinating as prospects.
Right.
Cole Caufield was like the controversial one because he was 5'7", but he scored all the goals. And then every other level, he scored all the goals. And then in the postseason last year, he scored goals. And it was like, this guy's going to be the next great goal scorer. Maybe he still will be, but it's interesting to me that after 3 weeks, he's back in the AHL.
How much of that do you think for him personally is almost like you almost wonder if he didn't come back to camp this year with the right mindset, almost kind of like, oh, well, that was easy last year. Like jumped right in the postseason, scored some goals, scored some big goals, overtime winners. And this is obviously a big kind of leap on that, but like you do just kind of wonder for a player like that was coming with those types of expectations who had success last year, was there a letdown on his part because like he really does, he looks like a different player versus just a few months
Look
ago.
at Montreal. They look like a different team
Yeah.
this year. They look awful.
Imagine that.
And not that surprising.
One of the worst postseason teams to make the postseason in recent NHL history, despite the comically fluky lucky run to the Cup Finals. Like,
Well, and look, as fans know as well as any team that especially young kids feed off of that type of energy, right? Montreal starts the season 2-6, and Cole Caufield's down on himself.
Well, and here's the other thing too, that this was an issue that the Avs genuinely, I feel like it plagued them for years. When you have a roster like that and you are set on competing, you force guys to play beyond their ability, at least at the time. And I think you have seen guys, prospects, younger guys, don't necessarily know if it ruins them completely for their career, but when you are being asked to play a second line role, when you are trying to get your feet wet, like I know people always, clamor for young guys to get playing time and more playing time and as much minutes as possible. But there's a reason that has been like a successful formula over the years of guys coming into the league, starting in a more diminished role, and then earning that ice time going up through. When you look at what Montreal's roster looks like this year relative to last year and the struggles they've had, they probably are looking at Cole Caufield to be like, hey, we need you to get going. We need you to be that contributor, and he just may not be there yet.
yeah.
And trying to force a guy into that situation
Well,
can work kind of against you.
So my question, we say he may not be there yet, but I would say, what's he missing? And I would ask, and it's not the question, not just for Caufield, but you look around the league and you look at Alex Newhook. These are guys that were really highly touted prospects coming up through, and they're all kind of running into the same wall at the same time. You know, both guys were contributors on their playoff teams last year. Both guys came into this season with expectations from their NHL clubs of, we think you guys are going to make the team, that you guys are going to be impact players for us. Both have fallen short of that, and both clubs got off to slower starts. I think in part because those young guys did not meet expectations. Not to say that the
That's
Avs
why.
were 4-4 because Alex Newhook, but certainly the slower start. Some of their lineup problems could have been solved by
him taking that step.
him just straight up playing the way that we've expected him to. And I almost wonder, that it's happening around the league. It's not just a Montreal. It's not just a Colorado. You're looking at a lot of young guys are struggling in ways that have really surprised a lot of people. You look at the Rangers have back-to-back for like top 2 picks in Capo Kakao and Alexis Lafreniere. What's going on? It was easy to blame coaching last year. It was easy to be like, well, that guy sucks as a head coach and he's ruining their young talent. But could it just be, and I know Evan has talked about this before, could it just be that the league is getting harder for young players to break into and be impact players?
Well, so for me, man, I really do think it's the league has gotten so good, and it has gotten so fast. Every team, even the teams that you consider like the slower, kind of heavy, grinded out teams, like their guys can skate, their guys can move. And I think
watch an Islanders game and you're like, oh, this is boring. But then you actually watch them play and you're like,
they use their speed to make it boring.
Like, this would be
a nightmare to play against. And that's honestly what I think it is, man. Is I think that just, you don't have those kind of like freebie lines anymore, right? Like you look at any of the real contenders and they are built in a similar way to the way the Avs are built, where when you are at full health, you are running 4 lines out there of quality hockey players who can contribute.
So,
and
you brought up Caufield and Newhook, and one of the things that I kind of consider there is look at this being what would be their first full season in the NHL. One, we already talked about this. It was an incredibly short off season.
Yeah.
So it's not the usual ramp up to a season that these guys are likely used to. And
because they were each on playoff teams,
it went even deeper, right?
Yeah.
And so they didn't have as much time to work on their game as they normally would.
And that's the other side of it. These were playoff teams last year. They got to play an entire season, come in to the NHL at the peak of their game, essentially, instead of having to start from the bottom and work their way into the year. So
there was they're learning that there's no ramp up in the NHL.
Yeah. And
you have to show up from day one and be able to hang.
Correct.
And they were the best players on their college teams, so they got to ramp it up a little bit. And in Newhook's case, he got to go to WJCs.
Yep.
He got to use WJ. He got to go pop off
kickstart his
there,
season, basically.
and then roll into college hockey, and kind of just keep the momentum moving forward there. There was no ramp up in the NHL. The season starts, and like what we've seen with Bo and Byram, you've got to be able to play.
And that's where I was kind of going with that was this really does, it looks like a lesson league-wide in that a lot of these guys that we're talking about, they come from being dominant players at the level that they played at.
Yeah.
Very high-end, top of the draft class, literally. And it's one of those things where I think this is like the new version of like rookie growing pains. You are not just purely good enough to step into the game. And that to me has been the biggest difference. You just mentioned Bowen Byram. That has been the biggest difference in his game to me this year versus last year. Last year, he looked like he was just depending on his ability to take over, and I'm just going to be good enough to hang in this league. And this year, he's got that edge to his game. His feet are moving a little bit more. His legs are churning faster. He looks like he figured it out. He got to watch all of that up close last year and was like, whoa, Everybody is as good as me. I have to be as good as I am and work.
It's no shifts off, right? Like you cannot take a shift off in the NHL.
There's no easy goals.
And that's why everyone has gone, damn, Bowen Byron hasn't taken a shift off this whole season so far. It's 8 games, but that's the type of work ethic that I think especially kids coming from college who play less than 30 games a year a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's an adjustment to gear yourself up for 82 games of full bore hockey.
Well, and it's the biggest adjustment when any guys, I mean, even coming from the CHL where you play 50, 60 games.
Yep.
You know, you also know that 20 of those games are against
You've winning this game 8-2.
Right.
We're talking god-awful junior teams where you are not, you know, if you're Quentin Byfield, you're not putting in maximum effort to
and
have
you're
a
still scoring 2,
night.
3. Yeah, right.
You're just having a 5-point night because it just turns out that
Children
I don't know,
just
like,
bounce off
it just,
of the
just
body,
well, it just turns out that like Flint is terrible or something, right? like Sarnia doesn't have the goods that year, and you just roll through them, and they've got like kids, like literal kids
that are
playing
good players,
against this
but
like grown man that's just feasting on them.
Yeah.
It's kind of what we're going to see with Olausen this year in the OHL, where like
we're
he's
already
a
seeing it.
big boy with an NHL shot, blowing pucks by OHL goalies, where you're like, hope the other things are coming along in his game.
There have already been games this year
Love
where
that
that dude
that's
is
happening.
a total ghost, and he just steps on the ice for a shift and scores. And it's like, okay.
But it's learning that all around game and learning the dedication. And I think one of the changing aspects of the NHL is more credence is being given to the mental side of things, the psychological side of things. You know, as the world has a better and more full understanding of things like mental health, I think that it plays into the development of younger guys because there is more respect to. He's got to just get some confidence. He's got to feel good about himself. He's got to be in a good place mentally, because the old school ways of just beating you down and seeing who survives and who comes out of that is a waste of a lot of talent.
Well, and that extends beyond hockey, right? Like that is just a way of life now. Like you go into any professional setting, and that is the conversation of like, we need to make sure that people feel good when they come here, and that people are put in a position to be successful, feel like they can, you know, have an impact and stuff. And there is a part to that where, so you know, this all started us talking about Cole Caufield. I'm not saying you have to like coddle people and make sure that everyone's, you know, hand is being held and everyone's getting an orange slice. But like, this is a guy who is struggling with that part of the game. That is a huge part of the game now. How can we help him improve that? And that's focus that's been given that never was before.
I think part of that is, in many respects, I think we are witnessing the death of the one-trick pony in the NHL. You can't just be able to snipe. You can't just be able to skate and have no finishing ability. You have to be, especially if you want to be a legitimate offensive contributor, you have to be able to do multiple things.
I don't know about the death of it,
look,
but I would say if you are going to be the one trick pony,
you need to be literally the best in the world.
You have
at
to
that
be
ability,
like you have to have a shot like Patrick Laine or like Mike Hoffman. You have to be able to consistently do that one thing at a very, very high level.
Yeah.
Like Mike Hoffman's going to get away with it because he's a 30-goal guy.
Right.
If he's a 17-goal guy, the rest of his game, the rest of his problems, the rest of everything that comes with him
It doesn't add
being
up,
in your locker room isn't worth it.
Phil Kessel's gotten away with it for how long now? Dude's an easy goal guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't do a ton else, but everyone wants him on the team because he can put one in.
But
when you need it.
That's what I'm talking. There are Laine, Kessel, maybe, you know, not even Ovechkin, because Ovechkin actually plays a pretty complete game beyond just his ridiculous
But he had to
shooting.
develop one early in his career. That was a knock against him. He had
Sure,
to develop
but
that.
he was doing that while scoring 50 goals a year.
Well, I was going
and
to
that's
say
a
he's
little bit
also
different.
the greatest goal scorer in like the
right.
history
But-
of hockey.
but that's
so
what
it's
I'm
different.
like-
but even
Yes.
the greatest goal scorer in the history of hockey, Rudo, to your point, had to develop other parts of his game because that was a
he
criticism.
always had a power element though. Like there was always
Yeah.
a physicality. He just had to learn to harness it properly because he did a lot of dumb shit early in his career.
But
Things that would not fly today.
no. But my point is, if you are not one of the 5 best shooters in the world, You need something else to go
Yeah,
with your
you've
game.
got to figure out some
You
other
know?
parts of your game there. It's funny because you say that, but it's also like it's harder than ever for guys to make the league who are good at everything but great at nothing.
True.
Because you look at a guy like a Jonas Donskoy, right? Like a really, really, really good all around player that does a lot of different things well, but he's great at nothing. And it's why you'll see there will be 20 to 30 games a year in a full
Where he's a
82 game
ghost.
season
Yeah.
where he doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And like you live for the other 50, right? Like
course.
that's what you pay him for. That's where he earns his money. But you're talking about like a fourth of the season. The
Yeah.
guy just does nothing for you.
Yeah.
And you just sort of tacitly accept that going in where you're just like, okay, let's just hope that we do with that our top line or that somebody else like we have to find answers on those nights where those guys aren't going. And those are like veterans. Like this is a guy that's been in the league for 6 years. How do you look at a guy like Alex Newhook? Maybe not even a Newhook. How do you look at a guy like Sampo Ranta and say, okay, which aspects of the game do we need to develop in order to get a legit every night player out of this guy? Because what we saw his entire career has not worked at all in the NHL. It hasn't translated at all. The skating and the size have been great.
Yep. You're talking about Ranta.
Yeah, and like that, the size portion is not a skill. That is not a thing that he had to develop. He had that. Not to say that working on your body isn't like a part of development,
Right.
but it's not something that he actively
frame.
had to be.
You can't
right,
go from
like-
160 to 230.
Yeah, right. Like that's just a God-given thing for him. But with Ranta, Ranta is especially an interesting case because when you watch Newhook play, you see he's got a really good shot. He's a really good playmaker.
Yep.
He's got really good vision. He's got really good instincts.
know the
and
talent
he's a really
is
good
there.
skater.
Yeah.
He's got a really complete offensive profile that you're like, we don't know how long this is going to take, but we're very confident that this is going to translate into a pretty good all-around offensive player. What level has always been a question because his college career was so good. We were just like, is it 70 points or is it more like 50 points? Because if it's less than 50, you're a little disappointed. But if it's right about 40 to 50,
You're okay with it.
you're pretty happy there.
Yeah.
But with a guy like Ranta, what do you do? And that was when I saw the thing with Caufield today. I thought it was so interesting because with Caufield, he's an extreme example of he's got a truly elite skill.
Yep.
And he's got other really good complementary skills. He's a good playmaker. He's a really shifty skater. He's very elusive. He's really good on his skates. He's got great balance. Obviously, the low center of gravity makes him a little tougher to take off the puck than you would expect.
Yep.
But he doesn't always play into that. Sometimes he feels a little sorry for himself and he gets a little
Soft.
but I'm done. Yeah, he gets a little easy to play against at times. And especially in Montreal, that's not going to fly. And he hasn't been scoring goals. Look, if he had 4 goals right now, he wouldn't be in the AHL.
True.
You know, but he's also, I think he's second on the Canadiens in shots on goal. So like the generation is there. It's just that, hey, when this is the other hard part of it, when you're a goal scorer and the goals aren't dropping, your value is really, really hard to discern.
Well, so Sampo Ranta, I actually think is a really interesting name to bring up because he was someone I was going to mention as when you look at him, even though what he has been known for throughout his career, what has been really good, what has gotten him to this point, isn't really coming through right now. He is someone to me that is finding other ways to at least be impactful to some extent. Now, obviously, everyone can have their opinion on how Sampo Ranta has looked this year, but like to me,
I don't think is there anybody out there who's happy with it?
I mean, what I was going to say was I am completely okay with what Sampo Ranta has done because I haven't noticed him in a negative way, and he's at least finding ways to be functional out there.
And functional, I think, is a good word for it because when you look at Sampo Ranta compared to a Cole Caufield, Sampo Ranta can get away with playing a game where he turns his brain off and just skates into stuff. He just runs into people. He runs into pucks. It will be a thing that he can get away with.
He can go an entire game where he skates in straight lines.
Yep.
Well, for me, it's one of those things where I love seeing that he gets PK time. Like he has been a responsible.
I'm going to touch
enough
on that
pla-
here in a second.
But like he's been a responsible enough player that you can live with the fact that he's not contributing in the way that he normally does, because you have the faith that, okay, he's working through these kind of bumps and bruises, finding another role, knowing that he's got that ability. Like that was a great tip the other night. Like that was a great tip on a goal that was called back
because
like,
he didn't dump it in.
Right? Yeah,
because
yeah.
he didn't recognize that Byram is 2 steps in front of him.
So
and he
I
needs
saw
to have
that play
more
go in,
urgency.
and when they didn't blow it dead, I was like, my angle must have been off
Me,
from
Rudo,
that.
called it
me,
active
me, Rudo,
too,
and Blaze
yeah.
were all sitting up here, and we all went, "That's offside."
Well, because it looked so offside that I was like, there must have been something from the angle I was watching that at that I missed, because that looked offside enough that I would have blown that play dead from here. But you know, like he still has that offensive ability. You saw it in training camp. You saw it in the rookie tournament a couple times. He's got that finishing ability. So I actually think Ranta is a great example of finding other ways to be impactful while he's not scoring
but he
goals.
hasn't is the problem.
well-
He's pretty much bottom of the barrel
is there
among Colorado's
is there
forwards
anything that
in
he's done
every shot metric.
Right, but is there
He's
anything
getting
that
crushed.
is there anything that he's doing though that is standing out to you every game where you're like, wow, Sampo Ranta looked bad there.
He's
that
getting
was on
crushed.
That's not what I asked you. Is he?
Is that not standing out in a negative way, though?
But
I mean,
no, I'm saying to you
when
watching the game.
When you stand on the ice and you cannot get pucks out, and you spend your whole shift defending.
But is that because of him?
Is it a
I
coincidence
don't
that
think
it
he's
happens
helping,
to him
yeah.
over and over and over and over, and that every line that he gets on, it continues to happen to? That when he switches lines with a different one, then now that's the line that's getting crushed? Is it all Sampo's fault? Of course not. There are 4 other guys on the
Right.
ice. But the question that I'm having with Sampo is, I don't have a problem with them keeping him. I would prefer for teams to give younger players longer leashes. But this is also a really good example of when every fan ever says, why don't you just throw X young player into the NHL?
Right.
What can it hurt?
Right.
Well, it can hurt your team because
Right.
he can
Yeah.
go out
100%.
there and get crushed every night.
See, but like, so he's getting crushed in shot metrics. But again, I don't see him throwing pucks up the middle of the ice. I don't see him
Yeah.
losing his
He's
coverage. I
not-
don't see him.
He's not touching pucks. He's not doing anything except watching the other team take shots, retrieve the puck, and take more shots.
Well, and
I just.
it's a weird coverage thing, right? Because Ranta is absolutely an F1. Anytime the Avs can allow him to not have responsibility at 5-on-5, they're going to do that. So
he should be high guy always, fly the zone, and stress other defenses.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do any of that right now. He's trying to figure it out. And when the coaching staff puts him on the PK, I don't think it's a testament to Ranta. I think it's the coaching staff searching for a way to make him useful.
Yeah.
Because if he goes out there and he skates in a straight line right at a defenseman who throws a puck right into his shin pad, he's got the speed and the size to fight off a dude for a sexy breakaway goal the other way.
I was saying the finishing ability.
That is where I think the coaching staff is using him on a depth PK unit where they're like, go run into a puck,
Right.
hope that something good happens. Because I don't think that it's out of the realm of realistic ask to just be like, hey, go block a shot or two.
Yeah.
And then maybe you get lucky and you can spring one down, because he can, and he does have an aggressive mindset.
don't know.
It's like the thing that Bob
I
Motzko
think-
accomplished with him at Minnesota. They successfully taught him, you're big.
Well-
and you can be big every single time on the ice because you're big.
Yeah.
No, see, I think you might have to be a little bit high to play Sampo Ranta on the PK. So maybe the Avs coaching staff hit up Solace Meds, where you can go get all of your cannabis needs.
This is forcing it.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm good with that. I'm just saying.
You got to do what you got to do sometimes, you know. You can't have an amazing Manscaped read every single show.
I'm just saying.
Use code DNVR20 online at solacemeds.com, SOLACE meds.com to get 20% off for your order for pickup. They have 4 different locations here in Colorado, and you can get a bunch of great deals in store as well. So check out Solace Meds today and get whatever you need. You get a free King Cone if you buy anything at the Wheat Ridge location. So get on that. Hit up Strava Craft Coffee as well, the CBD infused coffee. that helps with migraines, aches and pains like joint pain, IBS, all sorts of stuff. Super easy to start your day with your coffee, and I call it your coffee and your Advil together because it takes care of your pains and it wakes you up. It's a win-win all the way around with Strava Craft. You can get Strava Craft coffee for 25% off your first order when you use code DNVR25. And with all this money you're saving, look, we just added Jesse, we just added Megan. There's never been a better time to become a member of DNVR. Get the annual membership. Sign up for that. You get a free shirt of your choice from our selection. You also get access to the
Working
DNVR
on new ones,
Lounge.
by the way. We've
Yep,
got a
there's
couple
some
of
in
new
the
abs
pipeline.
And I mean, I feel like I feel like it's not
Why
a
not?
huge
Yeah,
surprise
everybody
that-
knows it's coming.
that a Rambo Santa shirt is being made, is in development.
It's gonna be
See,
fun.
we just need him to score. He's
Well,
gonna he's gonna put one in
Yeah.
Like
Wednesday.
with like Sampo himself, the shirt is developing.
yeah.
Ah, there you go.
Do you got more?
No, go
Oh,
for
okay.
it.
No, I was just gonna say to kind of finish up on the Ranta stuff. I think it's coming for him.
Yeah, and like I'm encouraged. Like I think he has had a solid couple games in a row. I liked him in St. Louis, and I liked him against Minnesota on Saturday. Like there were signs there. The same way that I feel like there have been signs with Martin Kaut, where you're like, look, he's physically engaging in a way that he hasn't previously, which is the thing that I think is keeping Ranta in the lineup.
Yep.
Is that he's playing without any fear of either getting run into
100%.
or running into people. And I think that physicality is something that Bednar has just said, I'm prioritizing.
100%.
I'm not worrying about anything else. We were too soft in the playoffs. We had players that didn't like getting hit. We had problems with it. So I want guys that don't give a shit if they get run into.
Yeah.
I want guys that are that aren't looking to a slip contact, because you did have guys last year like a Donskoy where look, Donnie's great. He didn't like getting hit.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a lot of times when he did, there were effects there. He didn't just get up.
Take him out of the
And
game.
it's kind of the same thing that has happened with Gerard a little bit this year.
Yeah.
Is that you've seen him look to slip contact a little more than he normally would, where he's been fine taking hits to make plays in the past. And this year, I think he's trying to slip it a little bit more. And you're asking the question, is he just avoiding contact because it's a smart play when you're 5'9"? Or is he afraid of the contact?
Right.
Now, because those
There's
are
a
two,
difference. Yep.
There's a really big difference in how you perceive the player depending on what that mindset is. And so what I think is that you're seeing Ranta and you're seeing Kaut. They're physically engaging. One thing that I think is keeping Jason Megna around. It helps.
big hit the other night.
It helps that they're pretending he's an effective center. I don't.
So Jason Megna
Whatever. But he's a guy that understands I'm going to go out and I'm going to go full bore every single shift. I'll hit somebody if I have to. And I will not make brutally bad mistakes with the puck. Bad things won't happen to me. And I will get to stay in the lineup. And again, that was a dude who got crushed
So Jason
against Minnesota.
Jason Megna has been my measuring stick for these first 8 games, like the back part of last season, when you're talking about players being called up, coming into the lineup, and that has kind of been my litmus test. Like I'm sitting there saying, what did they do tonight that Jason Megna can't? Because that's honestly like where I think this coaching staff is at with these young kids. Is are they a lot of the stuff you just talked about? Are they willing to go out and do that? Wear the contact, make the tough plays, knowing that we'll find their role. Like Alex Newhook will find his way to the second line, you hope, right? Sampo Ranta will find his way into a scoring role. You hope Martin Kaut makes the jump. But are they doing something? Are they coming into the lineup every night and doing something that I can't get out of Jason Megna, who I know what I'm going to get every single night?
My problem with that, and the part of that I struggle with, is yes, the players do need to find their role for a certain extent, but also you look at someone like Alex Newhook. Are they going to play him at wing? Are they going to play him at center?
Right.
They
Yeah.
seem like they can't make up their mind
So the
what
thing
they
with-
want to do
the
with the
thing
guy.
with Newhook specifically, have a plan.
Yeah.
Because I think Sampo and Kaut, those types of guys, make it really easy to. They are drag and drop players.
Yep.
And with Newhook, especially when you're worrying about long-term development, you're saying, okay, every shift that he plays at wing is a shift he wasn't playing at center.
Yeah.
Every development opportunity that you give him in one position takes away from the other. So you need to understand. You need to be comfortable with the opportunity cost of, is he going to play center Because if he's playing center, he's more valuable.
Yep.
If you're going to develop him at center, he's more valuable. I think it was Brad earlier in the conversation that had that mentioned William Karlsson. If you're going to try and get a William Karlsson out of him, great. But if he ends up on the wing and you get more of a Jonathan Marchessault out of him, he's less valuable. He's still good. He's still worth having around. He's still paid. Different value there.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody, if you could just pick between the two of them, I don't think anybody would take Marchessault over Karlsson. And if they did, they were wrong. So it's when it comes to New Look specifically, they've got to have more of a defined plan instead of Napoleon's plan of show up and see what happens.
Yeah.
With Sampo, it's fine.
Right.
You know what? Because they don't have to worry about him going to St. Petersburg in the winter, okay? It's fine. It's not going to happen. I don't think that there is, if they don't get an NHL player out of Sampo, it's fine. I don't think it's a huge problem. I'm also not that worried about it. I think he has too many intriguing tools.
I agree.
For him not to eventually just stick on some level.
Yeah.
Now, is it a fourth line, Lawson Krause type of thing?
Maybe.
Where he becomes like the offensive version of a Lawson Krause, where he's you put him out there because he's big and he skates well and he does this and he's that, but he scores
20 points maybe.
Yeah, and he scores points, and Krause is more of like the defensive type of guy that you live with on a fourth line. Where does he end up? But the what each guy does well and what each guy needs to work on is different.
Yeah.
Like right now, the one thing out of Martin Kaut that I've really consistently liked in all of his games, he's retrieving pucks really well.
Yep.
When pucks are bouncing around the zone, he's going and getting them. He's keeping plays alive, whether that's for a shift change or an offensive possession or whatever.
It's not just the retrieval; it's the next step too. He's continuing the possession by getting the puck and doing something effective.
Yeah,
with it.
he has. It's been and part of that is the increased physical engagement. Look, he's not a small guy. He's not hulking,
right?
But he's a decently sized individual that can throw the body around. He can be effective when he uses that size. He has been effective using that size. His puck retrieval has been a thing that I've liked about his game. It's a thing that I think can continue to get better because there are still some moments where he seems to give up on a play before he gets to it, where he doesn't think he's going to get it. And so he goes in with a little more of a soft mentality where he just reaches instead of moves his feet. But that's a consistency thing. That's a shift by shift thing. Once it really clicks with him, I think it's going to be a big thing. With Sampo, he's not retrieving any pucks at all, and he's losing a lot of them. And when he has them in the offensive zone, when he's not making effective plays with the puck.
Yep.
And I think that's where, when we talked about Olausson not using teammates and that, I think he's way ahead of where Oscar is.
I mean, Oscar's at square one in that category.
And I'm not saying that to dunk on Oscar. I'm saying it to say Sampo has developed a lot from his draft days, from when he was a teenager. That part of his game has come a long way. It just has to continue.
Yeah.
And right now, we're not seeing a lot of progress in that specific area. And I think that's where I think that's where one of the areas of his game that has to come around. Because when it does, it's all gonna make sense when it like, oh hey, this guy who's had puck skill and goal scoring acumen everywhere he's ever been his whole life is suddenly going to figure out how to utilize his skills in the NHL to accomplish those same goals. He's never going to be a big assist guy. He's never going to be a big playmaker, but he has to figure it out enough so that teams respect the fact that he has teammates on the ice.
He's got that ability.
And that they don't just need to worry about just him with the puck right now.
So taking this back to what this whole conversation was originally around of, prospect development, how do you handle them? Is it, sending them down, keeping, whatever it is. And I think that is what you are, that's kind of what all of this boils down to is there is no more cookie cutter, this is how you develop prospects. They sit in the AHL for this long, then you bring them in, you put them in this lineup, and that's it. There are different players who need
wildly different things.
Yeah. And I think that, going back to what
Well, I think that's why you're seeing Kaut is on the power play and Sampo is on the PK.
Right.
They're trying to find something that works
and
with
they're
each
trying
guy.
to develop different parts of each guy's game, and they're saying, okay, we're seeing enough out of this that we can put him in there and see that come along further. And then you've got guys like Newhook and Caufield who are sitting in the AHL because what they need right now is to get back to scoring those goals and feeling, getting that juice going and remembering what it is they do so well that has made them effective at the NHL level, that when you go through a rough patch like that, you can get away from. You start squeezing that stick a little bit and you start trying to do things that you wouldn't normally try to do. We've seen that with the Avs as a whole in the playoffs the last couple of years. They get into these second rounds, they get against, something a little bit different of a look, and they start squeezing the stick, and they start forcing passes, they start forcing plays.
I'm gonna avoid the correlation there because each of their second round losses has been very, very different.
Well, see, but I see it in the same way of like, you have guys that get away from what has made them successful, and just drawing that parallel to Newhook, Caufield, what are they doing this year that is different from what they did in each of those two guys' respective playoff runs that hasn't carried forward? You know what I mean? That hasn't been replicated to start this season. What are they missing? What are they needing to get back to? And that's why I think it's good for players like that. Get some AHL time. People forget the AHL is still an unbelievably good league. Like, that is a very good league. There's very good hockey players.
The AHL is better than ever. And we say this every year because it keeps getting better.
Right.
Because they keep allowing teams have dedicated real prospects to developing there. And so when that raises the level there, and it's no longer filled with these guys that should really be in the ECHL who are 24 or 25 years old. It's a lot more.
You find a little bit at the bottom,
but there's a lot more real players there.
Yeah.
A lot more actual prospects. A lot more. There's a lot more raw talent in the AHL than we've ever really seen before.
So
and
it's not like a bad thing to be playing there.
But the big thing here, and this was something that I noted earlier today when I was chatting with people about Caufield, you can't hem and haw. You've got to make a decision with these guys.
You're in or
because
you're out. Yeah.
The worst thing that you can do is, we kept him for 8 games in the NHL, and it didn't work very well. So now he's going to the AHL, and now he's in the AHL for 6 games. Well, now when he's back, and now we're expecting the world of him again because he scored 3 goals while he was in the AHL. So clearly he's fixed. And now he's back, and he doesn't score a goal for the first 5 games that he's back. Oh, well, he's broken again. We need to send him back.
Yep.
And it turns, or he gets healthy scratched for a week, and then he plays 1 game. He plays 11 minutes. He goes back down to the AHL. You can't do
I fully agree.
that. And that's where teams get lost. They become hostages of the moment where they're like, we're not patient enough to just leave him in the AHL.
Right.
To where we're like, he's good, he's done.
Well, see, and that's I wonder how much a product of that is like of the newer way that fans interact and engage with teams and stuff like that, because there is pressure on teams to bring these guys into the lineup and have them there.
Teams cannot make decisions based on YouTube comment sections.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't disagree with you. But I feel like there are some that do.
Well, I don't think it's even necessarily based on the YouTube comments. I don't think there's anything wrong with aggressive promotion if you are a team that is in a situation that can afford to bring in young players and give them 20 games to be maybe not that great, but figure it out at the NHL level.
Look how Anaheim handled Trevor Zegras last year.
Yeah.
Really weird.
Very, very strange. Yeah.
Really weird, especially with like the press releases, which is probably like doesn't affect him or his development, but was more of a weird thing from our side of things where we're like, why are you saying this? Like, okay, so you guys demoted him so he would go play center, and then he scored 2 points per game, and you called him back up.
Yeah.
And then didn't want to play him.
Yeah. And see, that's where I fully agree with you. Like, I am one of those people, and you and I actually have gotten into arguments about this stuff before on old shows, where, like, I really am, like, if you aren't going to commit legitimate time to a prospect in the NHL, if you are going to toy around with healthy scratch 4, 5, 6 minutes a night in a role that they're not really, like, that's not their role. Leave him in the AHL.
Well, and this is where the Sampo conversation comes back, because you can ask right now, is Ranta's development better served doing what he's doing in the NHL every night? Or is it better served with him playing? I'm not going to say 20. Everybody always says 20 minutes. It never fucking happens with the Eagles.
They're on the third line or whatever.
Is he better served playing 15 or 16 minutes in a normal top 6 role for him?
PP1
where
type
he's
shit,
doing, he's getting puck touches all the time, and he's adjusting to the speed, and he's getting used to it. Because you remember, this wasn't a guy that has a year of the AHL under his belt. He played like 6 games with the Eagles, and they were like, YOLO, put him in the first one, let him play playoff games. It's all good. None of this matters. Fuck it, Sampo's got this. And like Evan mentioned in the chat, like he seems to have like his own like Sampo rules here.
Yep.
Well, and that is one of those things when you see stuff like that going on, that is where I really try to step back and say, okay, what are we not seeing that coaching and scouting is seeing different? Because there was something to what Sampo did last year. He came in, he had a very good short stint with the Eagles. He performed well, put up points.
Well, so did Newhook. Newhook was even better.
Yeah. And they bring him in right before playoffs.
And Newhook was even better again.
Practicing with the team, and they both end up in the lineup. So it's, what is it that they are seeing that they are liking so much out of Sampo Ranta? Is there something at practice? Is he, and I don't have the answer to that, but I'm just saying in general.
What my guess here, my theory, I guess, is that it's that Sampo is a pure north-south guy, that it's a very simple process for him, and they're just waiting for the game to slow down.
Yeah.
In the NHL, because when it does, like what he does, like look at how Logan O'Connor plays. Look how Logan O'Connor gets it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where you look at Logan O'Connor's raw skills, his talent, and what stands out about it? His speed. That's it.
I mean, effort level, yeah.
In terms of talent,
Sure.
in terms of his actual hockey skill, his skating is really the only thing that's like that really stands out as like a true like pro. Yep. Everything else is hard work, determination, understanding who he is in his own skin, understanding his role, and knowing how to play that role every single shift, every single night. And it's made a world of difference. I can't imagine that there's anybody in the world that has a problem with Logan O'Connor this season.
He's great.
He's been awesome.
He's great.
The light bulb went on last year. We saw it go on, and we were like, okay, even with the limitations, you love a guy like this. You love a guy like this.
Started in the bubble for him.
And I think that, those 2 games, that when he came into the Dallas series and he just ran into stuff, and it was like, wow, what a revelation. Because...
He was like old EA Sports NHL games, though. He'd run into stuff and the puck would just go right to a teammate. Like, it was crazy. Like, he was so good in the bubble.
Well, and this is where I think that they're waiting on Ranta, because he plays a simple north-south game, but he has puck skills. He's got goal scoring ability. He's got good finish. He's got a really good shot. Like, and we've seen it with great skating. I think that they're looking at him and they're like, look, this is just a better LOC.
Yeah.
So all we're going to do is we're just going to give him 20 games, and we're just going to hope that the light bulb comes on, because when it does, it's going to kick ass. And he's going to be a good and effective player. And right now, he's not any of that. And it's interesting to me that he's getting a leash that we haven't seen previously. Injuries are certainly playing somewhat of a role here.
Yeah.
But even when they were they inched up close to being healthy, he was still the guy. He was still the guy. He was still in there.
I think, especially for an organization like the Avs right now that have the expectations that they do, let's be honest, the development slot, whatever you want to call it in the NHL,
secondary,
there's pretty much one of those for the entire forward core.
Yep.
So they've made a decision to commit to Ranta in that spot, at least in the immediate. I think that much is pretty clear. Their reasons may be something they see. They like Ranta, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't have to get into specifics there. But
I mean, you'd love to know what it is, but
your comment of them waiting for the game to slow down for him. It could be that they are just looking at this guy, and maybe it's in practices, it's in camps and meetings and film or whatever, and they are saying because that is one thing that is the appreciation for, I think, does get lost a lot, is just how quickly that game moves at the NHL level.
Oh, it's lightning.
Like it's
so
unbelievable how fast that game moves, how quick guys are on you.
Yep.
And it's everybody on the ice now. And maybe that is something they're seeing, that once this guy starts understanding that pace difference and can give himself that extra half second, he's going to be great. Maybe that's the internal conversation they're having. So they're just trying to work through this until it slows down with that individual player. But I do think that's one thing that is big, that does get lost a lot, is players adjusting to this speed and pace. It is a massive step up.
And let's be honest, outside of the 4 penalty game to end the preseason, Ranta's preseason was significantly better than Newhook's on the whole. So,
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, but he had the 4 penalty game existed.
He did, but Newhook didn't provide any of the things.
I don't have any issue with how they've handled Newhook, because he just didn't have a great run up to any of it. He didn't look like himself. He wasn't nearly as dynamic or as threatening as we've seen. I mean, how many games have we watched of this guy since he was drafted? Yeah. Tons of them. And he just didn't look comfortable in his own skin. And it was like, okay, you need to go and figure this out.
I'm saying, and I know it's not a 1-to-1 correlation of they can only develop Ranta or Newhook. They don't even play the same position. But we know every head coach in the league gonna have an aneurysm if they try to put out too many prospects at the same time. So
unless you're Arizona.
Well, it's a
see, the thing with Arizona is they're not playing their young guys in the NHL this year, because they don't want them to get infected with the losing
toxic culture. Yeah.
So they're purposely holding some of their prospects and saying, we're going to give you an extra year.
Well, you saw Detroit did it last year too.
We're not messing with this. Yeah, look at Moritz Seider. They gave him an extra year in the AHL because they were like, you know what? We don't want you up there getting comfortable losing 50 games a year. Yeah. It's one of the things about New Jersey that I'm a little iffy on.
That they just went in. Yeah.
They threw all of their young guys at it and just said, figure it out. Yeah. And you see some of, Jesper Bratt has been a revelation. Pavel Zacha has been a slow burn, but has worked his way up there. Is that, it takes time, but it's also a great way to burn out some of your young guys and never really give them a proper chance.
I would love to get more into this conversation, but we're 80 minutes into the show and have a lot more shows to do.
Oh, I didn't know that we'd gone that long. Yeah, that's my bad.
So final thoughts on the development process, young kids trying to crack the league these days.
One of the things that we didn't really mention was that it could just be that all these young guys just aren't as good as we thought. This whole mini generation of this 2-year group just may not be very good.
I think it's really interesting, because I feel like we went so many years where you had really high-end talent at the top of the draft that was able to make the jump. And to AJ's point, this may just be one of those things where, you're going to end up with a lot of really good players, but they just aren't on that same dynamic,
how many
elite level
come
where you
out
can
of this,
jump right in.
Where you get a bunch of second-line players or second pairing. How many all-stars are coming out of this group?
Right.
And real all-stars, not you need to be your team's one guy, Trevor Zegras.
Right. But I also do think that there's another possibility to this, that you are also seeing a shift in the way that coaches, general managers, organizations as a whole are starting to look at people. There is a lot of the conversation around, well, how do you communicate with Gen Z? How do you communicate with millennials? This may just be one of those things where people are starting to figure out, we have to focus on mental side of it, making sure that they feel comfortable, making sure that they understand what their expectations are, make sure that they understand this, that, and the other. And maybe teams just realizing this development track isn't as fast-paced as we had it even just a few years ago. We have to slow down. We have to make sure that guys are getting what they need.
The really quick counterpoint is, though, of these young guys that are succeeding, it's all defensemen.
Yeah.
Byram and Seider. Jamie Drysdale's had a really strong start to the year.
So are we seeing a shift from it being defensemen that are the slower burn to forwards?
Well, and that's my question, because that's never been the case.
Yeah.
In the NHL, it's never been the case. But all of a sudden, this generation, what we're seeing out of guys at a younger age is defensemen.
Yeah.
Coming in and succeeding at a more rapid rate than forward counterparts, which is weird. Just because
I wonder how much of that is a push that recognition of young, intelligent players get pushed towards the defensive side of the game because they position better, because they understand the ice
Reading
better,
the game
things like that. But yeah, maybe a conversation for another day, as we do got to end this show. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, however you consume the pod. Hope y'all enjoy Jesse, because he's going to be on the show all the time now. So
if you don't, sorry.
Well, they can live with that. That's their problem.
Thanks, Rudo.
If you don't, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you say?
Yeah.
Truly, like, all right, well, go enjoy Dater's Pod. Oh,
Well, anyway, we love you all. We will be back tomorrow, same time, probably from home. I'm a black screen now. Either way, we love you. Have a good one. We'll talk to you tomorrow.